Hello, everyone. So far, I don't have anyone in the meeting other than I think I've got one of you on the live stream. So if we don't have anybody join with any questions, I might just do a little bit of a show and tell on some flows that I've worked on, just so if those that are watching live are interested in seeing a little bit of flow fun, we might be able to do that for you just to make use of the time here today. So I'll just kind of give everybody a little bit more time to maybe connect. And if they have any questions, or if you're online and you have questions, feel free to jump into the live meeting and ask those questions as well. And while I'm waiting here for a little bit, I will connect to one of my orgs and do a little show and tell of a flow that I put together. In fact, if you've been to my Terry's Tidbit sites, you are aware that I have a flow for, well, you may not be aware that it's a flow, but you may be aware that I have a exam quiz that are a practice exam for some of the Salesforce certifications out on my website. And that is actually all done through Flow. And I've never taken the time to really show anyone that. And so I might just do that if we have no one come in with the other questions. So I've got that up here and ready to go, but I want to give at least maybe another minute or two for others to join, because this is really about you and not about a Terry show and tell. So I do want to make the time useful, but it really is about you guys. So if you have questions, feel free to throw those in to the YouTube chat channel, or you can actually, I should probably bring up the YouTube chat channel so I can see that myself. Otherwise, I will do a quick show and tell, and then we'll call it good for today. So let me jump into my channel, see if there's any questions online, and make sure that I can answer those for you as you have them. All right, so yeah, if you are watching online, feel free to throw messages in the chat window. I am looking at those now if you have them, so I'll be able to help you out. Given I don't have anybody else joining yet, I will jump into a show and tell here. Maybe that might be helpful for you to kind of get some ideas of what you can do with Flow. And so let me share my screen and walk you around this concept that we have here. So with from my Terry's Tidbit channel or website, I have the practice exam for some of the certifications that are on Salesforce. I've done several videos and training sessions for others that have found this resource to be really helpful. But there's admin videos for those trying to get your admin certification or platform app builder and advanced admin certifications. And then I've got this practice exam that's here. And the practice exam actually launches into a Salesforce site. You can see that up here in the URL. Goes into a site, and then it's simply displaying on the site a flow. And this is a screen flow where I get to choose which exam or practice exam I want to review. And so let's just take the admin certification exam. And it simply walks us through the process of taking an exam. So how many questions would you like to answer? I'm just going to say 10 for now. And then it has the study guide listed here as far as the information that is important to understand from if you're going to take the exam and what the weighted percentages is for that. You walk through that screen, and then you give it your information, an email address. And if you've taken the exam more than once, it will welcome you back. If it's your first time to take it, you can see there it's a welcome back message. If it's your first time, it's just going to ask for your name and allow you then to begin once you're ready to take the exam. So you click next. It's going to present you with a question. And this is question 1 of 10. What's the maximum number of files you can upload to Chatter files? And you've got your file size. And you've got your answers down here below. You select the answer that you wish to choose, click next. If you get it right, you get a nice little green sign. If you get it wrong, you'll get a little red thumbs down. You have the ability to dispute the question if you'd like. And if you do get the question wrong, let me see if I can answer one wrong. Question number 2 is the VP of Sales wants a visual indicator on opportunities to quickly identify the stage. So that's a path, but let's create a path for the stage field, create a path on opportunity stage on a standard page layout. Let's just choose that. I think that'll be maybe the wrong answer. Let's click next. And then you can see you get the little red thumbs down, but then it also gives you a reference for where you can go study that information. So that's helpful then as well. So once you're done with that, you click next, and you also have the mark for review. That'll also give you that same information to go research it a little bit more. So let's take a look at what this actually looks like in Flow. And I brilliantly closed that screen. So let me log into my Salesforce org again, and I'll show you what this looks like. Because what I like about this isn't the fact that I created it or that it's this practice exam. What I like is the fact that it's a good example of what you can do with Flow. And so here's what it looks like on the Salesforce side. And I think it opens up a variety of possibilities. We often think about Flow from the standpoint of what can it do to improve our users' life, but you can extend this well beyond your internal users. And in this case, it's a public-facing Flow hosted on a Salesforce site. It's a great way, or it's an option if you've got some complex data that you need to capture from people who visit your public site. It's a great way to get that information. You do have to be careful because there are certainly some security things you want to be aware of. So don't go blindly out there and just be caution to the wind and think that let's do this and no problem. There are definitely some things you want to think about from a security perspective when you do something like this, and because you are opening up a portion of your environment out there publicly. And so you want to think about that carefully. But here's what it looks like on the Salesforce side. I have different certification exams. And so there's my 4 exams. That was that initial pick list that we saw. I have this whole set of questions that are here. They are associated to an exam topic. And then there's the question. So the question is associated to an exam, a topic. And then I am able to see who are the people who have taken the exam, when did they take it, and I can see people's responses to their questions, whether or not they got it right or wrong, and then every attempt there and what they ended up scoring. Now, I'll be honest, I rarely go in and ever look at this other than to see, okay, do I have a question that people are just completely stumbling on? And is that my fault because I worded the question wrong or something like that? Or is there something else wrong with that question? That's really the the big thing that I look at. And if I've got questions where people are answering them 100% of the time right, so you can kind of see people's responses, how often that question is getting presented, and the percentage of people getting the correct answer. That's really nice, because that helps me, kind of define or clarify some of the questions so that they make more sense. Because most of the time it's probably a grammar issue on my part, because I'm horrible with grammar. But let's look then. So that's kind of the structure of how it looks from the Salesforce front end. Let's go behind the scenes and look at the actual flow. And in the flow itself, we have flows, and let's see if we can find this guy. Certification exam version 2. I'm kind of thinking about the idea of doing a version 3 that will, when you get to the end of the exam, if you've taken it more than once, it will be smart enough to compare how you did the first time you took it to the second time that you've taken it, and kind of show you your progress. I don't have that piece in place yet, and honestly, I just haven't had time to do it. But it's kind of a cool concept in the way this all works. I don't want to go into classic. I must have clicked something goofy. Let's try that again. And if you're new to Flow, which I'm assuming if you're watching these videos, you're probably a little bit new maybe to Flow. This is not an easy flow. This is a little bit more advanced. There's a lot of code that's also being done within this flow in order to help it do the things that it needs to do. There's also logic in this flow. I wrote this several years ago, back before we had some of the newer features of Flow. And some of the newer features, I'd probably do things a little bit differently than I did in this particular release. But you come into the flow, you've got that first screen, that's that welcome screen that we saw. And that's just simply a display text there with a pick list input, and it is required, so they have to select something there. So that is that piece of it. Once you've made your selection, we do a couple little get statements to get the exam that you selected and the topics that are associated to it. That allows us to create then that second screen where we say how many questions do you want on the exam. And that's a predefined list there that I created. So you can see I have choices there of increments of 10. Those are just simple individual choices that I threw into that pick list. That is not data driven at all. And then I have a unofficial SF table component that I put out here. This is an older version. They have a much newer one that is so much easier to work with. So if you're not familiar with unofficial SF, that's a fantastic site for things like this that allow you to enhance your flows a little bit. So I'm sorry, that's not the right one. This is just a simple vertical line that kind of separates things on your page. The data table's down here at the bottom. Sorry, I'm not reading my own thing here. But the data table is the part in the flow where we were showing from the study guide the weighted percentages of different pieces within the flow or within the exam, the topics and so forth. That all comes into the data table. And that is all data driven based off of the exam topic that you chose. Here they are, exam topics and their weighted percentage. Inside these topics, the way that I got them to order, if I remember right, I think I had nope, I don't on the exam topic. Where is this at? Let's look at an exam real quick and kind of see the relation to, yeah, here it is. So the exam topics, we have the topic link, basically its description, its weighted value. But I wanted those topics to show in the same order that they're written in the Salesforce study guide. And so I simply just have a display order field that allows me to sort the the records in the fashion that matches the study guide. So just kind of a simple, it's a somewhat meaningless field from a data perspective, but it allows me to make the study guide or have my exam match to the study guide's order, which is kind of cool. So that's the data table. Again, that's all unofficial SF. Our user screen, where we're asking for the email address with some text there, just simple display text. We go to look to see, okay, has this user visited us before? If so, we will send them down this existing user path. If not, we will go down the new user path and we'll ask them for their username. We'll ask that they enter that. And this can be done a whole lot smarter today than what we could do back when I originally wrote this. But what I'm doing is I send it into a decision to say, okay, did you give me a name or not? If you didn't, then I'm going to send you back into the screen. So back in the earlier days, we didn't have the ability to flag that as a requirement. So we had to write a little bit of a loop to send people back if they didn't give us what we wanted. And then once they did give us what we were looking for, I did an assignment and then wrote their information back to Salesforce. Now, because this is public facing and it's anonymous, the users all come in, meaning they don't log in, so it's anonymous. I have to use Apex to actually write the records back to Salesforce. A public user would not have access to create records inside of Salesforce. So we get around that by using Apex. If it was an existing user, then we go find their information and we give them a nice welcome back message instead of the new user request. I forget what we're doing over here under this decision, why I did this and this little assignment thing. I'm not sure, but and I won't take the time to dig into that here right now. But once we know who the user is, we have the screen that came up that asks, okay, are you ready? You're about to start the exam. This is also very similar to the way it is on Web Assessor when we're taking an exam. It kind of gets all that information out of the way, and then it finally says, okay, we're going to start now. The timer's about to begin. It's in essence what's happening on this particular screen. Get everybody take that final deep breath and say, okay, let's take the exam. And so once that happens, we've got a couple more Apex things that are occurring based off of the users, how many questions they wanted to do. We have this Apex that I wrote that randomizes the questions. So based off the exam that you're taking, I go out and query all of my questions and I get back whatever the number of questions is that you wanted to take. And it's randomly getting that, and it's all doing that through Apex. The other cool thing that's happening inside this Apex code is that it randomizes the order in which the answers are presented to you. So on the multiple choices, you might get the same question if you've done it multiple times, but the order in which the answers are presented to you, or the options, is going to be in a different order as well. So it's kind of cool the way this Apex works. Trying to just mix it up so that things don't become something that you can just learn by memory, that you have to read through the actual options for the answers and select it in the right order, or select it the correct one regardless of what order it presents itself. So those all then go into an assignment, and then this is the loop where we are now looping through every question. So we come, so if there's 10 questions like what we did, this will loop through 10 times, one for each question. We're resetting all of the answers here. So if we've gone through question 1 and you answered that question with option A as the answer, when we come back through here to question 2, this is just resetting all of those variables so that it doesn't automatically assume that question 2 is answer A. So it just resets everything. There's our screen with the actual question. So the question gets displayed up at the top. All of this is all data driven. We've got that horizontal line that just kind of breaks things up a little bit again for us. And we've got answer A with its choice, B, its choice, up to answer E. And we've got a mark for review down here at the very bottom. So that's the input. We get the response. We have a decision to see, did you get it correct? Incorrect people. We have an assignment that goes back there. And then I believe that, actually, you know what? I don't think that is doing what I think it is. It's Boolean equals false. So they got the number of responses is wrong. I don't know why I send it back to that screen. It's been too long since I wrote this, and we're kind of doing it on the fly since nobody came into the flow office hours with questions. So let's go down to this decision. Correct answer, not correct, or we're just kind of tallying everything there. And then we show them either the green or the red response on each question, and the right answer will always be in green. And then the other options will show up in more of a light colored gray. So again, this is just using visibility to determine whether or not something should show up or not. So that's an advanced feature in Flow, but it's an awesome one because it lets us consolidate things into just a single screen. And we can simply say, okay, you got this one right, you got it wrong, and show the right information, based off of that visibility, show them the correct response. So both are on the screen, but only one is going to show up based off of the condition on that visibility side of things. So it's really kind of cool the way that all functions. So then we come down here to this little section, and I suspect this can be done significantly easier than it was at the time when I had to do this. But what I'm doing here is I'm trying to keep track of whether or not you answered things correctly, so that when we get to the end of the flow process, we're able to give you your percentage of how well you did. And because there are 5 possible answers, and we have this funky little decision and assignment process that's going on. Is A null? If that's true, which it shouldn't ever be true, but if it is true, and then we've got B, C, D, and E, because some of the questions only have 4 responses versus 5 as options. And this was just a weird way of trying to manage how we record the assignment of people's responses. It's kind of convoluted to try to explain, but that's what that little funky little area looks like. Again, I think with some of the newer features of Flow, we probably could do this significantly easier. We hit that decision next. That is, do you agree or disagree with my answer? We have a little checkbox on that, on the quiz, on every question, that says you have the ability to dispute it. If you do dispute it, I bring a screen up that allows you to tell me why. And when you mark that as finished, we will denote that question has been flagged for dispute. It will take it out of the rotation, so nobody else will see that question until I have a chance to go in and review it, and kind of change its status either back to something that is positive or be able to correct the question if I had it wrong. I don't have too many people dispute me, which kind of surprises me, but that's kind of cool, the way that gives you that capability. It then moves on to the next question. So the next question gets queued up here, and then you end up back in your loop, and you go through that until you get through every question. Once all of your questions are completed, you can see all of the Apex actions here that are writing everything back to Salesforce. So there's technically no database interactions in the process of taking the exam. It's after you have finished all your questions that we write back the responses. So this is going to create all the response records. It's going to update the exam last attempt so that if you are taking it multiple times, we have the ability to tell you, thanks for taking it back 2 months ago or whatever, so that we have that information. And then we query to get a summary of how you did on the exam. And this data table will display that summary. So you get the information on here's how you did on every topic within the exam. Again, data table that's managing that from Unofficial SF, fantastic tool. There's just so many things on unofficial SF. It's really worth looking at if you are looking at some more advanced capability within Flow. So that is the way that exam works. It's surprising how, I guess to me, I'm a little bit humbled by the fact that so many people have taken the exam and used it. But it's kind of cool that I know that it's helped quite a few people in their certification journey. But there's just a simple little behind the scenes view of how that exam functions. Hopefully you found that kind of interesting. I still have no other participants in our Flow office hours for today. So I'm going to go ahead and let our meeting conclude then. We've been in here now for 30 minutes and there have been no questions from the community, which is fantastic. But if you do have questions about Flow, you want some help with your flows, then feel free to go out to office hours, Flow office hours, flowofficehours.com. You can register for these sessions. We do this once a month on today's would be the second Friday of every month. If you need some help with Flow, we're here to help you with whatever questions you might have. It's just a way that we can give back to the community and help people learn Flow. So thanks for watching. If you were watching online, it's great to have you. And we look forward to seeing you a month from now. Take care.